Alright, so I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple landscape using Unity here. So if you start out, click on Terrain, Create Terrain. We're actually going to be making an island, so let's set the resolution to something we can work with, more to an island size. So if you go up to Terrain, Set Resolution, change this to, let's go 500 by 500. And that'll set the resolution of your land, and then let's zoom in on it. And if you go over here, so we want to raise like a central mountain, so use this tool right here, select a fairly large brush, and increase the size to the max, and the opacity is kind of the intensity of the tool you're using. So we have this very high, just by clicking it'll raise our mountain up a considerable amount, whereas if we lower it down to something like 20, we get a more subtle effect. So just kind of make a ring around here, keep going, and if you get some areas that you think are too high, you can use the smooth height tool, which just kind of averages the heights of the things that are selected and smooths everything out. Alright, now that we got that going, let us make a skybox for our little engine here. So if we go to Game Object, Create Other, it's where is it? Render Settings and Edit. Click on that and go over here to Skybox Material, little icon there. And if you've downloaded the Unity standard assets, I think that comes with the generic, and inside Skyboxes it has a bunch of different materials, and materials are what we use for Skyboxes. So if you go over to where we just were, render settings, and you can actually just drag, like let's use Sunny 3, just drag that right onto the Skybox material. As you can see, we now render Skybox, and it comes in the form of a cube, just a bunch of different textures mapped onto a cube surface. So some of you are good with texturing, probably know more about it than I do. But so now that we got our Skybox, let's go ahead and add some water, or you know what, let's finish up with our island here. So we need to texture it. So if we go over here to the paint texture, you can edit textures to add textures, and if you get the terrain assets package from the Unity website, it comes with a lot of good trees and bushes and grass and rock textures and that kind of thing. So we click on Add Terrain Texture, pop that up, and we want a sand color, so let's go with Sand Beach right there, add, and what you'll notice is it colors everything. But that's okay because sand is the most prominent thing on our island, so we'll layer that down for the first, and then add another texture, and we'll call this like a mountainy kind of texture. So let's go something like that, rock, basic. Select the brush size, now we can kind of just paint it on. Selecting the rock tool, of course. Give it some good intensity. Target strength is kind of just how many textures are painted on when you click. So it's kind of like opacity, kind of not. So let's just paint this big rock here. Alright, and now let's just add some simple grass. Go here. Actually, we'll make it another sand texture, something darker. Once again, just get rid of these, and layer it up with some darker sand. Kind of went off a little bit over there, but I'm not too concerned about it. Alright, and now we get to add some grass and trees. So if you click on the paint details, we can add a detail mesh, which is an object, or a grass texture, which uses a lot less memory and still kind of acts the same. So let's import they're actually billboards, 2D textures that are just you'll see them sway. But this piney grass looks pretty good. So let's increase our brush size, and let's really lower down the opacity. We don't want too many of them. And our target strength, put it somewhere like that. Let's see what we get here. It's actually not. Why are you not working? I'm gonna pause it and figure out. I'll be right back. Alright, so as you can see, I was just zoomed out too far and it didn't render. I need to get rid of a lot of this grass because I added too much while clicking. So if you just go here and hold down the shift key, increase the brush size, it'll just erase everything you placed. So back to the grass, keep the big brush size, lower that, lower the strength, and just kind of populate it with some grass here. Alright, and then the same thing with the trees, just add a tree here. There's a pine tree right there, palm group. And like here you can actually, besides the brush size and the tree density, which is how many trees would be placed within your little circle, it has a tree height and variation, so each tree will be between 90 and 110 units tall, and same thing with the width. So that's fine, I'll just pop some trees around. Blah blah blah, kind of like a volcano, sure. Alright, so now that we've got that, we're looking pretty good here. Let's add some water. So this is really easy to do. Just go over to Game Object, Create Other, or Assets. I'm sorry, it's got to be over here. You got to go to Standard Assets, and then Water, Basic. And if you have the Pro version, you get some really cool water, but we don't have that, so. Alright, you want to pop it kind of just anywhere, and then increase the size to something pretty considerable. Maybe it's got to be larger than the landscape, so let's go 700 by 700 and give it some depth, maybe 50 meters, whatever. And now we can line it up so that the water covers just a little bit of our land. Raise it up, and as you'll see, it acts as, you know, some water. So let's give our island something like that, kind of like a lagoon. If we go to our player, which is not lined up with my camera, go back here, hit play, you will fall through the map if your player's not lined up properly with the camera or is set above or below the floor. So let's just line this guy up here. The camera over. Let me pause it, I'll fix it. Alright, so now that I've raised up my player, yeah, if your mesh collider for your player, this thing, which is actually still too low, if it's below the terrain, you'll actually just fall through. So you need to make sure that you're above the terrain, like it is there. And the main camera. Oh, that's the land, undo that. And the camera is way too high. Bring that down. Alright, and hit play. Alright, you'll actually see that we have trees and the grass. And the grass actually sways, which is really cool too. So this is just kind of the generic island. And if you will, of course, need to add a light, so you can go to Game Object, create other directional light. It's most often used for sunshine. Yeah, just add a big sun there, move it back a little bit, although the distance doesn't really matter since it's directional. You can change the intensity. It's kind of bright there. Let me try to fix my main camera so I can walk around. Alright, I basically just lined up my main camera with my player and the transform coordinates and then reset it from there. So now that that's fixed, let me just show you what it looks like. Player view, drop down, here are trees. So come out to a really nice effect, and you see the grass here swaying. and some hills, or a steep mountain. And you can further change the detail, add some normal maps. You see the player collider there. And walk around, let's see this little lagoon. And as you can see, I mean, just a couple minutes of work gives also just an amazing result. With this Unity, it's actually pretty cool. The water, even the basic effect shader, rippling. So that is how to make a simple terrain. If you want to add more textures, you can go back to the paint texture, edit textures, and add them. So say I wanted to, I don't know, maybe throw in some path, kind of like a road. Use a small path size, or I'm sorry, brush, and then lower the brush size. To create tree colliders, that basically makes your trees like actual game objects that you can run into. Let's just add a little path. Oh, I kind of really like that for the base of the mountain. It's a nice little effect, kind of like a lava volcano kind of look. Yeah, that kind of comes out well. If you lower the target strength, you'll notice that it, you know, like I said, it just kind of like faintly layers it, so it gives those rocks kind of a veiny look, which is kind of a really cool effect too. So you can experiment with different textures, and you know, a lot of this is tweaking, as you'll find out. Just a lot of tweaking to this line of work. So figure it out, and hope to see some good stuff out there.